Hello everybody and welcome to this process video, how to design a bathroom like this in SketchUp. The architecture model is shared with you. What we will focus primarily on in terms of modeling or exploring is using components and groups for creating very quickly various cabinet variations. And then how can we bring all this over into Blender to do the rendering so we can place materials and lights. And talking about lights, not only make one rendering, but basically turn lights on and off and then explore how can actually various lighting strategies be utilized to kind of like influence how the space can be, explored. How could I experience the space? Okay, very good. In Blender, then we will also take a look at how can we, because it has for most areas actually better modeling tools, particularly for fine details or when we want to explore variations, how can we design very quickly a quite complicated bathroom sink? As you can see, everything here is kind of like built into the countertop and then send that geometry back to SketchUp. So you see, this is not just only a one-way street from SketchUp to Blender, but actually also from Blender back to SketchUp. This video will also talk about the proper architectural modeling. For example, here, how everything, this is the starting file, how everything will be layered correctly. So when we design a space and add materials, we really want to think about also the thickness of the physical materials. And talking about materials like the tiles, I will also show you how we can, for example, here use architectures.org, which is a fantastic service for creating tileable materials. I have an 8 rows, 11 columns, 10 by 10 tile system with 1 inch of joint covering closely the area of the bathroom. Actually, I have here, as you can see in top view, there are the dimensions. So we can then basically create a texture that has random tiles on it. So we ignore the issue of noticeable tiling in textures, but because when we export it with the free version, we only have 1,000 pixels. There's another website which I will show you that then allows us to actually take this kind of rather small image and make it nice and big. It's actually a big JPEG. It's a pretty cool website. This is a standard upscale. It's kind of blurry. The differences may be minimal, but in rendering this really will show. And if we compare this to another commercial, Topaz is actually king in this discipline. It gets actually pretty close. Topaz is still better, but when we do a rendering, we might not really see that. I will also have one small exercise for bringing in this image into Photoshop if you have it, and then how can we very quickly with the perspective undistortion tool turn it into a nice square texture so we could use it for texturing. If you don't have Photoshop, no worries, all these files are being shared with you. Simply skip that part. Okay, very good. Then please go to the download section and download everything which is shared, and then we can get started. Let's start this lecture by talking about how I designed and set up actually the space, because everything was modeled with the actual physical material thickness in mind. So this is a bathroom. And at one point we want to put down, obviously, a tile material. But in real life, nothing is just thin like a sheet of paper. It has material thicknesses. So here I have my ceiling, the walls are hid, and there is my floor. Let's zoom in a little bit. So what you see here, these cubes, they represent actually the wooden joists. It's kind of like the ribs for skeleton. And then we have the wooden floor. Most times the wooden floor is around 3/4 of an inch. All this basically I put under the walls. So if I go to a front view, you can see how this is kind of like lined up. And these wooden boards, well, this is just one big geometry. It's just various sizes cut and then nailed to these wooden joists below. They're like the foundation onto which we built everything. Now, because this is wood, it can move, which is fine. It's a natural material. But that means if I take tiles and glue this right onto my subfloor, chances are very high at one point it will break. The mortar might break, the tiles might crack. That's terrible. So how can we prevent this? Well, the easiest way is we need to put something stable under it. And this object I have here right now, that is actually representing that area or surface. So let me hide also the door. There we are. Very good. And I hide also here the baseboard. Very nice. So this is actually now the first layer. This represents, could be, for example, liquid concrete that we pour down and then we put a netting in it to stabilize it, kind of like a composite. Could also be cement boards, which is very popular to use. Never heard about it? That's so easy. Just go to YouTube, type in bathroom cement boards. Here's, for example, a really nice video that they show how they put these boards down. There you see there's actually the construction wood. These boards will be glued actually in place. There you see it there. They put down kind of like the glue and then they drill it in position and then they make sure all these gaps are nice and flush and then you mud it all together. And onto that later, I think somewhere here they even start drawing down. Here, there you see this. Actually, they drew down all the tiles, so they're planning it. These videos actually are super useful and fun to watch because they really help you to understand how does a contractor do it. And when we 3D model something, later we want to create also architectural construction drawings from it. So we should model it the way how he, for example, will put it together. Okay, very good. So onto this surface. And I took a dimension. So what I found is basically for the cement boards, 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch, whatever it is, basically that's then what we model. Onto that, then I put down actually another geometry that represents the tiles. Now onto the top surface of the tiles, that is where later I will put down the texture. But this whole object represents actually the vertical thickness or the material thickness, the volume of the tiles. And that is very, very important because keep in mind later when we position our sink or countertop, well, we want to measure everything to certain distances or kind of like heights. So that's like 32, 2.5. Now you see like there's a little bit of half of an inch of an offset. In my model, I have actually the baseboard sitting right on top. Technically speaking, we want to have the tiles run inside the baseboard. So in case something pushes on the baseboard, it doesn't crack the tiles or so. I simplified this model just a little bit. Then we have this interesting cube here. There's actually the threshold. You see that's sitting on that concrete board, but not on the tiles. The tiles are actually butted next to it. And this threshold is in between the door. Now we have the door casing, the one, the outer casing there, or the trim. The door itself, I actually even put in some hinges, just as a little tip if we want to very quickly rotate the door. So here is the door group. I want to rotate it. Rotate command. There is my cylinder. Zip. There I have my hinge. And now I can rotate it in case I would use the correct rotation, obviously. Zip. There. Beautiful. Okay. Good. And then let me unhide everything. Now there are the walls. And then we have the ceiling. The ceiling pretty much the same. We have the joists which sit on the wood framing. The walls are basically representing the interior wood framing plus the drywall, casing. We say 5 inches thickness. That's actually not even correct, because even when we buy 2x4, the wood isn't really, when measured, 2x4, because it needs to be kind of like it's pre-cut 2x4, and then they basically even it out so everything shrinks a little bit. On top of the joist, now the subfloor again for the second floor. And then under the joists, there is the drywall, which basically would be connected to the joists, and then from the inside we would mud everything. Okay, very good. No? So pretty simple. And this is actually not too complex or not too detailed. It's still a little bit simplified, but I think you can see that with this model, it is actually kind of visually very easy now to work with. And then when we create section drawings or something, we really have accurate dimensions or geometry we can sample dimensions from. Now we would like to model actually the the cabinet that's under it. The problem we have now, okay, how can I go in there? Okay, the walls and the floors are my view. This is my view. And I start like hiding everything, but I would like to model everything in context. So how can I actually take a look into the space better? That is where the section tool comes in very handy, or we have it here. I can click this view here. Very nice. Select this, and then I move this one simply inwards till, well, I get pretty close. Very nice. Now this is very easy to navigate. I can turn the visibility of that section plane off, or I can also turn on and off this effect itself. Maybe here I will move this a tick closer. Perfect. Very nice. Okay, so now we are kind of ready to actually start modeling our cabinet. To design a cabinet system in SketchUp, particular system we would like to be replicated multiple times, and then when we modify one element, we want to have the other elements be adjusted too. SketchUp offers actually a really great tool set and process. And the component system, what makes it so special in SketchUp is that I can not only take one object and turn this into a component, I can take multiple components and turn this into another component. So I can nest them. That's actually pretty unusual and works really fantastic. It's more actually how assemblies work in engineering programs. So to illustrate this a little bit more, let me go for one moment, go back to my bathroom final model. So here is the space. And I have here the original component model, as you can see. So when I go and double click this component, you see how all these doors are actually selected now. When I draw one line here, all the other doors have that line added to it. So that is really great. And when I select this component, I have here the group cabinet original, and there's actually this component, group. If I go to this component, you see here they all have the same groups. It's all the same. So it actually, that's fantastic. This is really nice. Works good. Because in this way I can, when this is my original one, I don't want this, I could say, well, how would this look when maybe I, instead of having these spacers left and right, fill the gap in between with 4 even drawers. Nice and clean and totally boring. Do I even need 4 doors? Well, what about version B? Maybe I make 4 doors and put a frame over it to give this a little bit more of, yeah, food for my eyes. Maybe put them also now with a gap under it or a distance, so when water spills over, it just doesn't flow over the doors. But also a little bit boring. Well, what about I move everything flush to the front, and then I have kind of like an asymmetrical design. Looks very interesting, but then it's kind of like in asymmetry. This is a very symmetrical room. Maybe not great. But moving everything forward was a good idea. And also having this frame around. And then let's use actually our design again, where I can now go ahead. Here I have a small gap. Would I like this line here, which I'm selecting, maybe move a little bit further to there? So now this is actually not just boringly vertical, but actually at an angle. And all the other doors have the same thing updated. That's pretty awesome, no? Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. So how do we do this now? Let's go to our basic model here. Very nice. So we would like to model this frame that goes around it. I start at the back, then I go down 20 inches. And before I continue, actually, I set the dimension system to decimal, so I only see inches. This will later really help also with the tiles when we need to sample dimensions. So 20 inches down, very nice. We want to be luxurious, 2 inches to the side. When this is 20 down, and we want to have 2 inches material thickness, then this can only go 18 up. Perfect. Then we can do the same here. 20 down, 2 over. Now be careful with the snapping. 18 there. Click, escape, and then we bring in this backline. Click, very good. And now we can use the push and pull command. Click and snap. Beautiful. And then this piece, we, as always, make a group, and then we can give this our name like cabinet frame. That is simply there to give the doors a little bit of a distance from the wall, as well as they're rather very thick zinc. 2 inches is a good material. Okay, so how do we now design actually a cabinet that maybe has like 1, 2, 3 doors in between? Before I had like 4 or 2. How do we do 3? And I do 3 here on purpose as an exercise to show you a pretty cool tool we have. So I can draw a line. There we are. Then I will select this line and right click and say, now divide this line, or subdivide, it's actually called in Blender or other programs. Divide, and then type in 3, enter. Then here's segment 1, good night, segment 2, good night, and this segment I will keep. Because now I draw my line up, over, down. There's now my box. There we are. Awesome. So what's the material depth? 23 inches. Very good. Let's give this a 1 inch material thickness. Click, drag, press 1 inch and enter. So when this is 1 inch, okay, which is a little bit thick, but it's fine. Again, everything what I do here, I simplified the numbers too, so it's visually easy to see and you understand the process. When we have here 1 inch material thickness to the back, now it's a question, do I want to have half of an inch back? Because I don't really need a strong one to the back. Let's say 1 inch too. When this is 23, then this face I only can move back 22 because I want to have 1 inch of a material back. My door should sit right in front on it, but flush with the surface. So this actually needs to go back 1 inch. There. Then triple click, group. And this group I could now call cabinet case. I would like to have a door. Well, doors are easy. There's my rectangle. Zack. Push and pull, snap. There we are. Triple click, group, and then cabinet door. Very nice. So these two things I can select, right click, and then say make a component. I'm going to call this cabinet. There we are. Now I can go to the move command, press Alt to make 3 copies via snapping a move. Okay, beautiful. We really like this. This doesn't have any handles because the drawers will be like push drawers. They're more expensive, but honestly, they will fit better. Handles are, I find, sometimes also a little bit outdated. When we have push drawers, nice and clean. Surfaces also mean easy to keep clean. Not too much distraction. But such a flat surface is also maybe a little bit boring. So let's actually cut in a small detail. These 2 boxes I will hide. So I can actually take a look here at the site. Double click on this, double click. So now I'm editing this group and I will go ahead and from this edge draw myself down a line 2 inches and another 2 inches, not the point. The line, there we are, and from here 1 inch over, because now I can go ahead and say from here to there over. Thank you. And then this face which I created, I will cut through. Now I will actually for the moment leave it there, just so you see what will happen. And all these guidelines I created, I will select now and delete because they are part of that component or group. Shift E, and you see they all have exactly the same design. If I want to have this to be on the other side and here in the front cut through, then actually I will have different components. A component for the left door, a component for the right door, a component for the front door. And in the back, the casing is one component because it's shared. In my case here, I make one component because the group elements inside are always the same. So here, I go back, editing this face and remove it. Beautiful. Yeah, maybe 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch. This is maybe a little bit of 2 inching. Okay, let's take a look. Let's select this. We bring this up by 1 inch. Yeah, that's maybe not too bad. So you see, actually, the cabinet can be designed so super easily by using the components. This is actually a really, really powerful tool, the way how this works. So we save ourselves actually really a lot of time. Okay. Now every countertop and sink also needs to have, well, obviously faucets. So let's go to 3D warehouse. There we are. And then we can type in faucet. And then you really find a lot of, well, millions of faucets from all over the world, which is quite cool. I'm looking for something that comes from the wall. Maybe it's actually not linear like this, but it is more round, just to be of a contrast. And we can, for example, search actually by names. So subcategory count. So these are the categories, advanced filter here, author. So this is like where we then can put in an author or company, color, or wherever you are in the world, what brand you have access to. There. Now I have actually all the stuff they have inside their 3D warehouse. The 3D warehouse is just only one area where you can find models. Most times I try to get the models directly from the manufacturer. So I go to the website for furniture, office, steel case, for example. Super good. Because one problem is there can be a lot of models in SketchUp, but they don't necessarily always are good models. So then we can scroll down and look what they have. I feel like they're watching way too many Western movies. It's 2020, please. So this is actually pretty nice here. It's kind of fluted, very simplistic. This actually would go really well with the doors. So if I turn actually this off, go to there, I'll see there is my door handle, kind of like a very simplistic design. So that's kind of like what I'm trying to find. Do I find something that can match? Yeah, there it is. Odin. Oh, how fitting, since I'm from Northern Europe. I'm not Scandinavian, but that's good. Okay, load this into my model. Yes, please. Thank you. And then I'll look around where it is. There. Slightly misplaced, not a big deal. Move this to wherever. Looks like the snapping has some issues. Sometimes I find when the snapping really fails, which is really frustrating, making a copy helps actually snapping it better. There. Now I'm snapping this there to the midpoint. So now this here move command along the z-axis, I can move up. Okay. And then this one here, I just delete. You can use the 3D warehouse then to place various faucet styles, because if you take a look at a faucet somewhere on the web and a 3D model, that can look great. If you put this then into the space, then you can see if it works or if it doesn't really work. Now for the toilet, for example, I would like to do something different. So I will in addition also to, in addition, I will also create another section. And this section, I move a little bit to here. Okay, good. So I can look into that space. Thank you. Then let's go back to 3D warehouse and I will type in hung toilet. I don't find anything because I'm still actually looking with this author. There we are. Very good. So here are various models of hung toilets, which is extremely popular outside the US or essentially wherever where you do not have a wooden frame construction. With a hung toilet, you don't have this actually sitting on the ground. It's mounted onto the wall, so you can clean under it very easily. Also makes toilets actually much smaller, and the water container is inside the wall, which is like two huge benefits. But you need to have the ability to mount this onto a wall. A wooden wall might not be necessarily the best thing. So while I'm here in the US and it is a wooden frame wall, just for styling purpose, we put this one in. Very good. And there you see, yeah, also here it goes to wherever it wants to. Let's turn this one off. Then we need to rotate this first. I will go to here. Be careful when you go onto an object. You see how this actually rotates around. So I click somewhere on the ground next to it and simply rotate it. That works actually, I think, much better. And then here, this is the midpoint, which seems to be usable. And then there's the midpoint. Very good. Let's turn on the section view again. And this needs to be at 16 inch. I can Google this, you find the dimensions for that. Or where we are, what standard do you have? Or also if you want this to be for a tall person or actually a small person. So standards are kind of like they have a plus minus. So there we are. Okay, so it's a tick too high. I can click somewhere else, press the up key and then snap this one down. Let's say there. Beautiful. Okay, really good. We need to do a little fix here with the sink. Sorry, the faucet. So let's go to this view there, and I will move this one along the z-axis down, and along the z-axis 2.5 inches up. Good. Because we snapped this whole object to the midpoint, it is perfectly centered, and now we brought this up to the height there. So this is actually really, really good. Great. I would say at this point that actually our 3D modeling more or less actually is kind of done. Because the other stuff then we will do actually in Blender. So I select the 3D modeling for demonstrating this process I'm talking about in this video here is actually done. Now, before I send everything over to Blender for texturing, rendering, etc., we can already inside SketchUp talk about colors, materials to a certain degree. I can give the door a color, I can give the wood frame a color, the walls, everything. So let's do this actually with our tile floor. So let's go to architectures.org, website I really just love. They're just really good. I have the dimension of 107 inches and 78 inches. So when you design a space, also and you want to tile it, be aware of. So X and Y of a room, can I buy tiles which I can neatly put onto the ground along the wall so I can minimize cuts, because nothing I find is more frustrating when I walk into a room and I see at corners where they cut tiles because I need to fill the gaps. Now, either they should have bought different tiles to better fit that space, or they should have actually adjusted the walls to fit the tiles. I know that's actually kind of like in an ideal world thinking, but honestly, that's really what you, like in ideal case, really what you want to strive for. In this case, actually here along the y-axis, so Y, we can nearly squeeze it in. Along the x-axis, for example, you will see it doesn't work out. Okay, but anyway, 107 to 78. So how do I do this tile? So we go to a new tab, architecture, simply create. This is actually a very reasonable and cheap service. You can just sign up for it. I think it's $5 per month, which is really very reasonable. When you do this, you can actually upload your own texture materials too. So when you have, let's say, a stone texture, you would like to create a tile system for bathroom, wherever you can do this. Superb. The time it saves you is actually worth the money. $5 is much. So for the pattern, we will go to stack, and we want to have 10 by 10. So that's kind of like the tile I would like to have. For the joints, 0.1. Actually, the edges should be fine. So it's kind of like a machine-made cut. Very nice and crisp. 0.1 inch, is this line system. And then when I have 8 or 6 by 4 and 10 inches plus the mortar, this is now the area I can occupy. And now basically I can go ahead. So when I say column 6 and 7, okay, 7, what about 8, 80, so 81. Yeah, I see like 3 inches, so that's already going to be of a problem, no? And for the columns here, 11, 111. So here I'm 4 inches. So you see like 4 inches, 4 inches. I'm kind of like off. If I now start tickering around and say 9.5 and 9.5, let's see if I actually get to something that's close. Yeah, I start getting to something. 9.2. Yeah, it gets even closer. Now, so you see kind of like what I'm talking about. Why, when you have a space and then later you want to set the tiles, ideally while modeling the space, not maybe the tiles you want to put in. Tiles also don't come in random sizes. It's more standardized. So you don't need to pick a particular tile, but just a format. Okay, very good. So this image is kind of nearly, or the layout is good. I would like to change the material to actually this here. I will use this because it has a very interesting pattern. Not necessarily perfect for the bathroom, but I can show a rendering material trick, which this material is really very useful for. I'm not really fancy about the color, so click on adjustments, saturation down, brightness a little bit up, contrast a little bit higher, so the blacks really pop, the whites really pop. Okay, very good. So this thing, zip and download. There's that image now. Okay. Now, as I said, this image is 1000 by 1000. There. My display, by the way, if I go to here, you can see that I am running this 1920 by 1080. So let's go to open preview, view, yeah, there. Okay, very good. When we zoom in more, oh, look how beautiful blocky textures we have. Looks like a throwback to the old Atari game consoles or NES or whatever was floating your boat. But as nice as looking back to time is, this is for rendering when we zoom in, actually not good. So why zoom in? Well, right now, for example, I can make a rendering where I'm pretty far away, but if I, let's say, get really close to a material, let's say a countertop, then this will render exactly the way how we see this. So this is kind of like garbage. Like the lady says inside that Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis. For the reason, her expression stuck in my mind. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So this image we would like to increase. I will do a quick demo here. I will use Pixelmator. The same works for Photoshop. The reason why I use Pixelmator, you see, bang, that program just opened. It's so fast. It's actually not that expensive. Unfortunately, it only runs on a Mac. PC, for example, as a free program, you could use GIMP if you want to. So if I go to image size and say, okay, I want this to be 4000 higher. And here it says good for upscaling. Yep. So maybe try this. There you can see how blurry this got. Not good. Let's do this one more time, maybe with a different here. Oops, I think I did not change actually the size. Yeah, also kind of blurry, no? And this is basically now the new thing. some sort of machine learning. This is now here running inside Pixelmator. Photoshop has something similar. They call it SuperRes. Surprisingly, the SuperRes in Photoshop is actually, let's not talk about it. It's embarrassing. Whoop, there it works. And there you can see actually the difference. So this is the pixelated salad. And then this is the, looks a little bit like vector art too. And I agree, but they try to really make it nice and crisp and trying to capture the details. Because if we zoom out, then you see you don't really see these vector elements, but look at the veins there. So right here, it works actually pretty good. So properly, hardly anybody will have access to the program, particularly for those who are on PC. What else do we do? Well, that is actually why Big JPEG, this website, is kind of cool. So we go select an image, and here is the raw reference. You can also see 500 kilobytes. It's nice and adorable. When I do the upscaling, you can see the size changes. Open, okay. Start, and then it asked me, okay, how much higher? Well, 4 times higher. Click OK. And then it will process and calculate online, and when it's done, just click download. Super easy. And that is actually what we have here. And Topaz, I think it's $2.99 something or 99. It's not really a cheap program just to do this type of an upscale. It also has honestly better results, but for what we need to do, actually, Big JPEG is totally fine. So it's still working a little bit, so it doesn't bog down our computer. Oh, there it was done. So I could click download. Awesome. Okay, so let's go to SketchUp, and we would like now to place actually this texture right onto here. So I will hide actually all this for the moment so I don't see this. Double click. So on here, I would like to create my tile material. Materials, there we are. We also got nicely all these funny other things which we will dump out in a moment. New texture. Then I have to go to bathroom and texture. There is that one. Very good. And then it asks us, so width and height. So this should be 72 height, I think. Yeah. Interesting. This is shorter. Hold on. Did I make a mistake? Oh, 78. That's why. Fortunately, this is very easy to fix. This is also a really well done process in SketchUp with giving a dimension to material, and then in here it will, well, fit. There we are. Click. Okay, perfect. So when we zoom in, there we see now the problem. So this is actually hidden to the back, which is something we could get away with simply because the cabinets will be over it. Okay, so we can keep it that way. I go to here, let's say I hide this. Yeah, so flop. The tiles perfectly are flush here. So this is actually not too bad. Okay. Very good. So actually that wall is not the wall. The floor is cleaned. We don't really have to do anything else like reposition it or scale because we in here created this already with a horizontal orientation and our model is also horizontal. Let me see. Perfect match. Okay, good. So what else actually do we now need for rendering? Since we're talking about textures, we're going to do this right now. We want to use this later as a tile texture. And right now this is a nice flat image. And because I'm using the free version, I don't have the ability to download the bump map. But for the bump map, all we need is a nice grid line. And I'm going to show you how we can do this. So let's go to Gravit.io. Start now. You can create a free account. And this is kind of like Illustrator running in a web browser, or like Illustrator InDesign mix. This is actually ideologically based on Freehand. Freehand was an old layouting program from Macromedia till Adobe bought them and retired them. Thank you. Now we're stuck with Illustrator only. Okay, very good. So open from computer. I will open actually that image now I would like. So go to textures. So I want to use here this really large image. There's from Big JPEG. There we are. Beautiful. It's actually, I think, Control, and on a Mac, it's a Mac key. The mouse wheel is zoom in and zoom out. Middle mouse button, pan around. Tools, don't freak out. We're doing just some lines, layers, and then here are some properties. And then export stuff. Okay, so when I zoom in, also here is actually kind of like a zoom tool. Along these lines, I would like to have a black line. So I will go to here, line command, then I can go to here, click on this. Also here I have all these snap elements actually besides grid turned on. So you want this to be on, then click. Wait, sorry, line command there, click. Wait. Oh, click and drag, my fault. Different program, different behavior. I'm clicking and dragging, hold shift, and then you see that it's vertical, and I go to here, and you see there's a snap line, release, and there's our line. Beautiful. There's our path. Then, since this program is context sensitive, here I can add a border. 2, too small, 4, too small, 10, maybe too big, 8. Yeah, kind of okay. And then an error, the error key, we can move things around. I just moved the image. I don't want that. Lock that image. Now I can click this, hold shift, and just move this left and right. Okay. And then actually it's good old Henry Ford mass production style. I hold the shift key and the option alt key and click. So click, hold shift and alt, and there. And wherever I see a grout line, I put a line down. You see it goes actually fairly fast, and there we are. Very nice. Okay. Now let's do the same one more time. And go here to this corner, click, drag to there, hold shift, release. There we are. What did we say? 8, I think. Was that correct? Yes. So this one goes down and hold shift, move this down. There we are. Thank you. Click alt and shift, and you see actually how then the cursor also gets a plus when I hold the alt key and then shift to move it straight down. Can also select one, hold shift and Apple command or control on a PC, and then I make a copy with 2. Can save myself actually half of the work. Goes pretty fast. There's actually for tiling a grout line, I'm going to skip it because my baseboard is sitting on top. So perfect. So there's actually now the tile grid line I need to, in the rendering time, give me the illusion of vertical height differences. So this we will export advanced, yeah, you can save this online. We'll give this tile tile grid, save. Okay, takes a moment. And then, yeah, then actually it's switched into the export command. So no, because let's actually hit cancel 1 second. Yeah, we are, you see the image is 4000 by 29. So that's actually a pretty big image. Okay, so I do not have to change the size here. When I go this is like 2 times bigger image. So it's like 8000 by 6000. 4 by 3 is actually fine. This is all good. JPEG. Don't use JPEG because then we get artifacts. This here really we want to have PNG. PNG does not add compression, which is also why PNG images are bigger. Export. And grid. Tile grid. Okay, very good. There we are. Sweet. Very nice. Okay. Yeah, I will do this now. Since we are just doing texturing, let's make this in the video the texturing block. Here I'll show you how we can now straighten this out. This actually, while I complain about Photoshop a lot, this is actually a really nice feature in Photoshop. I think GIMP on a Mac or PC has something similar. So here's my image, there it is opened, and now I would like to crop this one. Look at this. So there's a perspective crop tool, which is super duper easy. Click, click, click. Then I zoom in, or rather skate in. Really hate this flowing movement. There. And there's this. Zip. Whoa. And the corner down here. Looks like there. Very good. Press enter and boom, done. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. We, I think, actually all can clap and applaud Adobe for that. Really good. So then this we can export as, well, this we could export as a JPEG, low compression, so maybe 95-90% quality. Or if you want to go save, just save as a PNG. This is actually shot with a Canon D80, which means this is a 24 Mbit pixel. So the texture is actually pretty big. Here you can see this 6000 by 4000. And I actually made this a little bit smaller in terms of image size. So I went to image and image size, wherever this would be inside your image program. And we could say 1500. Yeah, this will be fine. Thank you. Okay, very good. Awesome. We actually, I think, finished all the necessary texturing parts for how to do things outside of SketchUp. Let's go back to SketchUp. This is all nice and done. I will show everything again, hide these parts, and I want to zoom in here. And what we see here is makes my fingers actually, my fingernails roll up. But it makes sense why they show this. So what you see there is actually an artificial reflection texture put over the door handle. So when we, let's say, see this, we can guess, oh, this is actually polished chrome. I see. Interesting. Okay. But when we load this into a render program, this is kind of, yeah. We want to render this actually by ourselves. So we don't need actually this texture. So there are two strategies how to prepare or deal with a scene here. If I like this geometry, and this is what I honestly would do, since I move geometry between the programs left and right, I will go to materials, and this is here, this is actually this texture. I will just say gone. It's being used, replace, use with default. Yes, thank you. And then remove and remove. There, that was it. See, it's actually gone. Okay. Now, if we would like to give this a nice material, let's say we say new texture. But it shouldn't just be a texture, it should be something just white. Duplicate U here. We call this Chrome. Okay, so, and then you never want to add a material in group mode. That's disaster. That's terrible. We want to only do this actually when we are inside the edit mode. So there we add all the stuff to it. Thank you. Good. No, that's nice. Nice and fine. Here, let's say this is all porcelain. So maybe we make a duplicate of this. Porzellan. That's how you spell it in German. Zock. I did this click again. And there. Thank you. So since these should be steel 2, see, I just go in and make sure I select everything. There, I give those that material to. The main reason why I do this right now, let's say at one point you meet with a client and then the client says, oh, I really would like this to be oil brush bronze. Okay, well, we could actually give this just a color. So then we change this and then this would be updated. And here on the Mac, I go to the color wheel and, for example, here I adjust this. There. See now how all this is colored. So instead of having to work with multiple objects and editing each material, I streamline everything here. Super, super easy. Now I would actually give a material to the mirror, a material for the sink, etc. In this video, I will skip these steps. I'm not going to detail because you essentially know how to do this. So I don't want to spend too much time on that particular task right here. But I think this is hopefully enough to make you understand why you want to clean everything up. Also give your materials logical names. So when you try to edit particular material, you can easily find it. When you load it into a render engine, Blender, Enscape, Maya, 3D Max, V-Ray, whatever it is, you find the materials quickly by logical names. And when you edit one, let's say that says Chrome or Mirror, you know what it is. Okay, very good. So we basically have everything ready. I think the only thing maybe left to talk about, I think I didn't mention this. So you notice how I have a very cleaned up design or overview of my outliner, and inside the tag I only have few elements. That's actually another good example for how to structure something. I can turn the plan view off, and when I go unhide, you see the plan view doesn't come back. But when I select this one and say hide and then go unhide, no, it's back. So this hide show works basically on the outliner, and then with the tags we can really permanently turn something off. So for example, the ceiling. Now I can select the wall, hide it. Okay, I want to see everything with the ceiling, unhide the ceiling, select the ceiling, hide it. Just works really, really good. Perfect. So we want to have the ceiling. Let's actually select the plan view too. So you see that this is actually, when you import an image, it's just a flat surface with a texture on top. And that we now will export everything in it, export 3D model as OBJ. And ideally, you would like to create a new folder, so it's not just random. So I will go to my desktop folder, make a new folder, call this bathroom. Very good. Options, export. Yeah, I mean, everything I selected. Yes, we want to turn this off. Unit system meter. So when we bring this into Blender, it will fit perfectly. Click OK and export. Internal for because I was always checking the model for problem fixing this. Okay, well, this is awesome. This happens. No problems, faults. Okay, SketchUp. That was quite funny. Okay. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, very nice. Good. So here is the folder on my desktop with the OBJ model and, for example, the texture for these two things. No? Okay, good. So we will supplement this with the textures also you can download from the link posted inside the video description. So we'll go to here. There's my textures folder. So this textures folder, I will copy, for example, in here. That means in your case, you will have one folder texture, and in there we just simply put everything in. And that is just a very good way to sort and keep all your different assets actually together. So they're not wherever on your computer, but they're nicely sorted with your projects. Because then later when we're done, we can select this whole project folder and move it to wherever we would like to store it. Very good. Okay, nice. So let's actually go ahead and start Blender. There we are. And we would like to set everything up. So we have unit system set to imperial. I will go actually to inches, so it's easier to work now because we do a lot of fine detail work. Very nice. On the render settings, all that stuff we can do later. Let's go ahead and import actually our geometry. So import wavefront desktop. There it is. There's the piece. So Y forward, Z up, and split by group import. There we are. That worked actually pretty fast. That's good. So one-to-one transfer. So beautiful. Now we need to make sure that all the stuff is actually maybe as easy to navigate as in SketchUp. So we can select zuck, 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 the joists and the drywall and this. Then we press M, or we go to collections there, and go create new collection, move to collection. So M, then you get this dialog, new collection, and I call this ceiling. Very good. Here I will make sure all this is on. Where is actually my collection? If you don't want to scroll up and down here all the time, we can actually do the following. And if you have enough screen space to work with, whoops, we can do something like this. It's just really up to you. Now we have a really long collection. We have a long area for the details. We could actually even And there's, yeah, swap area. Zack, there. Very nice. So there's actually my ceiling. Very nice. Thank you. There's that collection. Good. And turn this on, and flop. Okay. Here, this is actually our ground. There it is. We don't really need it anymore, so I will select and simply delete it. But I just wanted to show you it. Z and solid, and then U, zoom, 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 zoom. And this will be the collection floor. There. Then I hide this. I will select the wall, press H to hide, and then I can, if I want to, select this, and actually here the threshold. So the concrete board, the tile, and the threshold M, and then move this to the floor. There. Yeah, let's do the same too. Zock. And then I can go to maybe a top view, press B, drag over this M, and say door. And you see now how quickly this starts to clean up. It's very, very easy. Okay. All this, yeah, let's say we go to this view, B, draw over, and M, I'm going to say cabinet. But actually, this one I want to be outside, so M and go scene collection. Or we can also keep this actually there, but maybe give this a name here. We call this countertop. I just double clicked onto that object. Shock. There we are. In honest reality, do I name all these objects it's based on? The same like in SketchUp. Sometimes I do if it's important. Sometimes I only name actually the collections or the groups, like talking about SketchUp. So I have easy ways to quickly find everything. This is the mirror, the sink stuff, the bathroom. I don't need to put these into other elements. They can stay, let's say, we call this stuff. Okay, beautiful. Yeah. I will actually, because this is getting kind of tiny, join this back horizontal. And I just wanted to show you that is something you can do if you would like to do actually. Wait, what? Ah, there we are. Thank you. Okay. A little bit smaller. There we are. Very good. Alt H. So now we can see everything. There's our floor. The ceiling, really, we don't need much. There's actually a tiny, funny, interesting issue here. You see how this is highlighted. So edit mode. When we select this edge and G and move this around, you can see there is something behind. There's an edge. So I press H to hide it. And here, this edge, that is problematic. Well, there are two edges actually. So X and dissolve. No, delete edge. Select this X and delete edge. Alt H to unhide. G. Yeah, okay. And now I can select this edge, X and delete edge, and then Alt click. Yeah, Alt click on this edge, selects everything, or I go 1, 2, 3 via Shift and left mouse button, and then press F, and then it's filled. Yeah, this is correct. And then press A, right click, and say shade flat. Maybe I have to go to the face command to see that. Shade flat. There. Very good. Still a little bit of an issue, so not sure what's actually going on now. Ah, there. Finished. Okay, beautiful. So now we are actually ready to take a look at how can we maybe set up the scene. So we put, for example, this is like the way how I design. Now I put a camera in so I can actually then see the space, put some lights in, and then I start, yeah, designing more. Design actually while I render, because this is not just at design, add materials, and render, I'm done. These are tools, it's a process. So we would like to have a camera that looks into this space. So Shift S cursor to the world origin, Shift A, camera. Where's that camera? It's somewhere there. Okay, I see. Very good. So there we are. I pressed N to actually see the property panel, and then I moved this one back to here. Very good. The orientations is all wrong. So now you see we need to rotate this one along the z-axis, so minus 90. And then we need to set the y-axis. Nope. X-axis, yeah, 90 degrees. Okay, so now the camera actually looks up. Then I can move it up and bring it over. If I go into the camera view, I see, well, beautifully the space. Also, how can I very easily center this camera left and right? Well, there are two ways how to do this. Everything grows from the y-x 0.2 there. So I could go ahead and measure, for example, from here to here, 78. So 78 divided by 2, 35, 39. So you should be along the y-axis at 39. 0, there we are, centered. We can also turn on this snap to edge center. Go to here, move this, hold control, there's the edge center. Now this is perfectly centered, and then I can move this one back. Height position, we would like this to be 5 feet. Okay. Now I'm 6 feet 4 inches, but when I make a photo, I don't really have the camera right in front of my eyes. Actually, I hold the camera a little bit below me. That seems to be capturing the space more natural. So right click, horizontal split, right click, vertical split. This is actually my camera view. I press N and press T, I zoom in. I would like to frame this more. So now we can go ahead and then think about the format. 1000, okay. I still see way too much of the top area, not enough of the bottom. So I go to the camera and then say Y here. I do a shift. Okay. There, now we can see how this kind of like fits in. Very good. I still would like to see what's inside. So if this camera is selected, I go now to viewport display. Go to here. Nope, sorry, not this one. Turn on limits. And there you see actually a really long yellow line. Check out this one. We set this to 10 and this we set to 20. Go to a side view and maybe make this 40 and 60. There. So this is 40 inches away from the camera. This is 60 inches away from the camera. So the end we put actually after the room. So after here, the camera doesn't see anything anymore. And then the clip starts. Zip. we bring to where, well, what do we want to see? This much of the space or a lot of the ground, but obviously not an X-ray version of the toilet and the wall. Maybe there. So let's say 120 to be nice and clean. Oh, wait. 200, sorry, my fault. Okay. Is the lens of 50 what I want? I could maybe make a 35. If I zoom in more, however, then you will see when I get this actually maybe to here, 35 there and there, and I zoom in. So this is actually kind of like a wide angle lens, and I can't really see much. By the way, I just realized I took actually few images to show something. So here I go into a really crazy setting. I set the clipping basically back to 0 there. So welcome to the look of a lot of first semester perspective 1-point drawings I see. Total distortion. I put the camera right in front of the wall. This is physically where I would only be able to stand. And I have here actually an image. So this is the 0.5 ultra wide lens of the iPhone I have. And you can really see how long this looks. It's kind of terrible. So in case somebody recognizes this, you know what type of animation actually I really like. This is now the 1.0, so the wide angle lens. I can't really see much of the space anymore. And even here now, you don't really see anything. It looks more like I'm doing a kind of like a funny selfie with my sidekick on my arm. But it's essentially just, this is only how much I can see of the mirror. So you see, also this is a common problem in interior space photography. This space would really be difficult to photograph. So I need to put my camera obviously outside of the space. So zip, maybe a 90 to make this more less wide angle lens. And then I have to adjust the clipping, the start and the end. If you want to be creative, what you can, for example, do is later in an animation, you just do kind of like a CT scan through the space. Zip. It can be very kind of experimental and goofy. Okay, so there we are. So if I take a look at this, I see some of my ceiling, a little bit of the floor, the wall. I pay a lot of attention to this. Shift D and escape. I made a copy of a camera and I set this to 50. And then to select this camera, view, and set active object as camera. There. Very good. So I can move a little bit closer. Okay. And maybe the clipping now I can adjust. So now you can see actually how much I can see more of the ground here, but then the countersink, the top surface is kind of flat. Select this one, switch to this camera. Yeah, this feels actually a tick better. Maybe both cameras I would like to be a little bit higher. So I moved them to 6 feet. This one too, 6 feet. And then I need to move both down. I select both, go to the camera, go to the Y shift. I hold the Alt key and then I can slide both up and down. Yeah, so now I see a little bit more of the top surface. Okay, very good. The key shortcut is actually Control 0 on the keyboard, and then you can see how we can switch between the cameras. in SketchUp, these would be completely new scenes, which is why this type of work, for example, in SketchUp is really extremely frustrating, or you need to get another extension as always. Okay, so I think we can agree on that this view is not as good. The floor is too crazy. This is better. Okay, beautiful. So we have actually the camera positioned. We can see how things would look from here. Let's, in the next step, work a little bit on the sink, or actually add a sink to the countertop. While SketchUp has like solid tools, the problem in SketchUp is everything is permanent. It doesn't have an interactive design workflow. In particular for exploring design variations, it's just not really that good, which is why I will show you here how we can very quickly develop alternative versions super fast in Blender. And once we like something, we just send it over to SketchUp. So we will select this countertop, Shift H, hide everything else. I can bring this over to here. I will go to the edit mode, face select, select this, Shift S, cursor to selected. Object mode, right click and move the 3D cursor to there. Beautiful. Then let's come back actually to here. Edge select. Select this edge. We would like to round it. Give this a full value of 1. Now that's the property element behind items. And then in object mode, we will add a bevel modifier, maybe 0.5 of an inch. But please only to objects which are weighted, or maybe 1 inch. I don't know. We could, if we want, also round this. I just go with a segment of 1, which will turn this into a chamfer. Beautiful. Okay, well, maybe 0.5. So it's not really a sharp corner there. When I stand in front of it, that's quite good. The nice thing is, as you can see, if I'm not so sure I can always turn this on and off. Now, again, this is just this interactive modeling capability the modifiers here offer you, or for example, in CAD programs, let's say like Fusion 360, the modeling features, in the timeline, or in SolidWorks, the feature stack, or in Grasshopper and Rhino. So now we would like to cut something in there, but actually I should know where my sink is. So Alt H, Z, and wireframe, click the sink, click the countertop, and Shift H, hide everything else. Z and there. Beautiful. Okay, so let's get started. I will make myself a new collection, and then in this collection I will call this maybe sink cuts. Okay, new collection, right click, and let's say option 1 or whatever you would like. And I have really no idea what I like, what I want. Maybe sometimes you have an idea, but then once you see how this works out, you're not so sure about it anymore. Okay, so let's start with something simple. With the 3D cursor right on top of that surface, that's beautiful. Shift A, plane. We want, when I go into edit mode, I want to be able to see the edges. So 24 inches. I can make this smaller. Hold Control. For example, you see then it snaps actually in 400 steps. Or I can hold Shift and go really, really smooth. And right now, I'm just visually eyeballing this. So maybe close to 12 inches. If we want this to be perfect, we know we can select these two edges in Preferences, Add-on, in Mesh Tools. We want to have Edit Mesh Tools turned on. Then we can go to Edit Mesh Tools, Edge, and set this actually to 12 inches there. And maybe these we set now to, I don't know, 24 inches. So nice and wide. Okay. The front I would like to be kind of like flush, and then it should slightly go back, and then I want to have a vertical wall again. So I need to have one cut here. There is the loop cut. I go onto this edge, and then I go to move and move this edge over. Okay, there. How do I now make sure that this, for example, is 2 inches? Here's actually a very easy trick. First, make sure that not this is turned on. And then GG, I'm sliding this edge. Slide it to here. Then I move this back, type it 2 minus 2 inches. Or I go to here and then I can specify really how many inches am I actually moving this. Cool. Then we can go to a side view, Z and wireframe, and now I can think about, well, how far do I bring this one down? I turn on vertex select, move this one down, hold control, snap to there. Then I move this one up by maybe 2 inches. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, very nice. So this is now an interesting surface. I select these two faces and F, select these two faces and F. Very good. Yeah, that's nice. And now what I will do, I will go into object mode and very gently move this up just a notch so it just sticks out. Select the countertop, add a Boolean modifier, and then here I say collection, not object, and then here option 1. Don't really see much. Z and wireframe. Oh, there is something happening. So this geometry, you don't see this, but there is an issue with this geometry. So I can select this, go into edit mode, and then I turn on face select. Ah, I see that. See, the red faces are actually to the outside. I want these red faces to be the inside. So I press A, go to mesh, normals, and say calculate outside. So now they see the red is the inside. It's kind of like in SketchUp, the blue face of a side, that's the inside. There we are. Look at that. There's actually now our cut. Pretty cool. Okay, so option 1. Let's actually very quickly reproduce variations there. So we call this now option 2. This whole piece here actually I liked, so I make a copy. And I make a copy by copy and then paste, because it stays in there. In there. I was German English together. With Shift D, I make a copy and I'm instantly a move command. With Control C, Control V, I make a copy and place it there. So there it is actually also now inside this collection. In case it shall be here, just drag it to there. Then this I turn off. I can press Tab, select this edge and S along the Y-axis. Scale this. Oh, looks nice. Okay. Tab to leave edit mode. Very good. Turn this off. Select this, and now I say here, go option 2. That's cool. Option 1. Okay. So nobody can tell me that this is actually as fast to do in SketchUp. This is just beautifully, ridiculously super fast here. So the shapes are, actually I really like this faceted look. That's not too bad. But now I would like actually to have a nice, I need to have a cut somewhere where the water flows out. Okay, so how do I do this? In top view, Shift A in object mode. There's a plane. Very good. this plane actually should not be inside this thing yet, so I can easily see it. Then I will go into edit mode, select this edge, move it back, move this, and then I hold Control and try to snap here to this point here. In top view, you see how this perfectly overlaps. Then this I can bring back. By the way, easy trick again, GG. Collapse it, bring it back, let's say half of an inch. Negative, please. Thank you. Then these two lines are way too long. I can just scale this S and Y along the Y axis, or if I want, we set a precise length, 10 inches. And okay, sweet. And then A and E and extrude this one down. I really don't know how far, technically speaking, this actually has to go through, by the way. Let's double check. I have my face orientation aligned to my quick favorites. For those who don't know this, right click and then say add to quick favorites, and then Q opens it. And you see there, this is red. This is bad. So A, Shift N for flip normals to the outside. There we are. We could give this actually now a logical name. And look at this, when we drag this one into there, there's that cut. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. Very nice. Cool. And basically you can now imagine how nice we can actually start adding elements to it and create variations. So maybe one more time, Shift A, and I do this really fast. This is actually more a quick study for maybe where we could place the soap. There we are, S and X there. This is more like visually. I should measure how big is a soap bar so it fits in. There we are. Maybe a little bit lower. Okay. Going to edit mode via tab Z. I need to select this edge, move this over. A, E, A, and Shift N. I just do this by default already. And then these two faces here, I will select S and X and chamfer it nicely. Select this edge and there. I said chamfer the edges. I meant more move the edges so these sides are angled. Cool. And then this flop, drag in there. Cool. Beautiful. Now I would like to have the same on the other side. Well, that's an easy task. I select this object and then add a mirror modifier to this, not countertop, plane here. Yeah. Along the Y-axis. There. Come on. This is awesome. I mean the process, not this design. Design is not too bad. These things maybe are a little bit silly, but just this is for the sake of showing you how flexible everything is. Yeah. Cool. This turned out really, really good. If we want to bring this over, we could select this piece. Then we go to File, Export. SketchUp, interestingly, does not have a wavefront importer, which is really strange because that's kind of like a standard, and now FBX is actually the standard. But we can use, for example, the Collada. And then when we go to Collada, select it only, yes, geometry, and apply the modifier. So with this, it only exports what we have selected, and with this, it takes these modifiers and generates the geometry and then exports it. And then this we could bring into SketchUp. We will do this once actually this is textured, because then you see what will come over and what will actually not come over. The Collada does actually transfer image textures, but it does not transfer procedural textures. No program really can import other programs' procedural textures. Okay, very good. I would say then this piece is kind of done. So what can we do now? This might be a moment where We go back to this layout there. Ah, look at this. Now the sync actually is kind of interesting. Now we maybe can start thinking about basic lights. How can we work with lights? That's actually a really interesting topic. So I will do the following. Maybe I want to have a light under the furniture piece. Maybe later a light on top. Maybe around behind the mirror. So for this first, we want to go to here, set this to cycles. Very good. Samples, we go really brutally low. Denoiser 10. Yeah, very good. So this is like, it will be really nice blurry renderings, but they're fast, which is good because all we want to do is get an idea of, does the light look good? And then this fast fake GI 2 and 2. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Z and render. Yeah, Z and there. This here we can set to white and 0. We do not want any light from the outside to come in. And now we can actually start adding our lights. So I will maybe move this one down so I can and zoom in here, better can see everything. Z and wireframe. My 3D cursor is right there, which is perfect. Shift A, add a light point, just a point light. And I move this one to here and then in top view, right over the toilet. Z and render. Oh, there it is. Now we can see actually how from behind a light can come in and then cast. Oh, look at this here. It casts a shadow over the wall here. Okay. We want to create a collection actually maybe inside this collection, which we call lights. Put this one in. We can say point, or it might change the shape. So let's call this simply toilet. Because this light we could also say is a spotlight that shines down, or is an area light, which is kind of like not like a light box based on us to decide. Okay, very good. And also here we can turn on this light. Don't show this and don't render this. Okay. Now I would like to have a light maybe under here. How would this look? How would this work? So Shift A and area light. And then I move this one down to there. Cool. Way too focused. I would like to have a nice band illumination. That's easy. Z view with this light selected, area shape to a rectangle. And then we need to see what is what here. Okay, now so you will be 6 and you will be 70. Okay. All the renderings are done on an Mac Mini M1, so that's a pretty weak machine. But you see, I can actually with this process get illumination ideas really fast. Rendering does not need to take a long time. It can be really fast if you set things up correctly. Maybe the light actually comes towards us, or does the light goes towards the wall and then bounces back. You see, this actually takes a little bit longer. And I really love actually working with lights. Lighting is interior spaces. Visually, this way is very intuitive, I find, because I can very realistically get an idea how in real life later this might actually work. Obviously, all these settings are still very simplified, but this is just for me to get an idea of how something could work. So let's say I will set this to 0 and 0 and clean all this stuff up. Very good. And I will bring this to here. I could, for example, look up a light fixture or an LED band or something, get all the information, and then put this in there correctly. In this video, we will more try to work with the light elements in a suggestive way, and not get caught up by too much technicality. This is something, the technicality and precision we put in always later. But let's give this maybe a name below cabinet. Yeah, so that makes sense now. If we make this a nice thin line, I think we can even focus the energy even more. We don't really see much of a difference if this is a 21. This is actually softer illuminated, like a huge, huge area. Okay, good. Oops, this was the power. I meant size. Okay. So, yeah, no, it's maybe not too bad. So, what about the mirror? Okay, let's go to the mirror. Now actually I would need to see into my world, so I will select the wall, press H and hide it, select my mirror. That was a really hard word for me to pronounce correctly. I always said mirror. And this is front color. Front color is basically the default base color from SketchUp. So the mirror, we would like to be reflective. So we click on this 41 or whatever number you have that makes this material now unique. It's not shared by any other object. And I call this chrome. Or even better, mirror. I don't know why I just pronounce it like mirror. All Americans were nice to me. They never corrected me. They knew what I wanted to say. And for years I said mirror. Okay, so it's metallic. Okay, metallic up, specular down, roughness down. Look, we can see. Beautiful. But now the whole thing is reflective. I maybe would like to have lights in the back. Can we do this? Yes, it's dirt easy. Actually, why do Americans say dirt easy? It's so interesting. I mean, it's an odd reason or odd expression. So here I select all these triangles, SketchUp export it, and there, and shift click there, Z and wireframe. Yeah, this is all selected, very good. And I will create a new material, new assign, and then I call this mirror LED. Off, off, and here's now the trick. Emission white. Don't really see much because the walls are hidden. So tab to leave edit mode and view. Is it object? Where's actually show hide? I think this is, yeah, here. Show hidden objects. Wow, look at that. There is actually light behind. Pretty nice, no? So for example, if we just want a glow that's happening behind there. So maybe we can call this LED backlight. That makes sense. I will hide this wall, oops, Alt H, just the wall H one more time. Then I'm going to edit mode. And now maybe I would like to have also a light rim around it. So I will select the front face. I press I for an inset. So like an offset by, yeah, 1 inch. Okay, let's not make it too big. Very good. So this is like in 1 inch of an offset. In Blender, they call that inset face. In SketchUp, it's just the offset face. Same thing. Face select, Alt-click this edge, Alt-click this edge. Okay. Or maybe not this edge, just this for the moment. Then new material, new, and there we say mirror LED front. Zip, zip, and zip. Oh, why don't we see it? Well, I forgot to hit apply with these faces selected. Assign, I mean. There. object mode, object. So it's Alt H there. Yeah, pretty nice, no? If we now give actually this material also to the side, then how could I say that? Can also shoot light out to the sides. By the way, when I zoom in and out, you see here there is sometimes the wall in front of me. Press N, go to View, and clipping, say here 0.1 inch. And, or maybe that's too much, 0.5 of an inch. Hmm? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, this is wah wah. Should have read more. 50 feet. Okay, here 0.1 inch. This is clipping start and end. Okay, so select the countertop. I have to do this frame selected and I can zoom in more. Now if I zoom in, you see I can just coast nicely through everything and get really close. Beautiful. So I don't have to hide the wall all the time. So let's try this out one time. I go into edit mode via tab, alt click this edge, and then we go to this, say assign, and now we can see how this shoots light out. It's actually also pretty nice. Yeah, the scene really start to take a little bit of, get a little bit of life. Maybe I would like to have a light also on top, and I really don't want to show the light or have something coming down. So let's actually mount something under the ceiling. Let's do a nice custom design. In this one we hide, then Shift A, add a plane. This is all turned on. Move up, go to there because I have the move command turned on. There, edit modes with tab. Edge select, zip, go to there. You go maybe to here, and then Control R. That's for the loop cut, or you use the loop cut. Click, move command, and we said GG, bring this over, bring this back, and then maybe -10. Okay, so what is this actually really about? One more time, Control R, click, bring this to there. You see I'm sliding this piece at the same time, and I move this one down by -10. I don't know how much. 10 is maybe a little bit much, maybe -5, -6, let's say half a foot. Okay, very good. So I will give this actually this funny front color from SketchUp. So it has the same material like anything else default. And then I will go into edit mode, face select, select this face, plus new, and do the same one more time. And I have to move this down just a little bit. Keep in mind, when this is right where it was, it's kind of intersecting actually with the ceiling drywall. So it needs to sit or technically speaking, there's also material thickness. So maybe let's do it this way. GZ, we bring this down -1. So, or actually -2 inches. Okay, because we need to have electronics, or actually we don't need to, because I just realized this is something we can put into the ceiling. It doesn't have to be under the ceiling. But still, let's move this just maybe like a millimeter down. Okay. And then this material, we also would like to assign. Oh, look at this beautiful effect. And then we can call this ceiling light. Or just call it ceiling because it is, well, actually, yeah, we should call it because it's a material ceiling light. Yeah, so it makes sense. Okay. So imagine like you go in, you turn all the lights like bling, 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 bling. Isn't it nice? No? Nice and soft. Maybe left and right, we still want to have a light fixture. Can we do something that is not too complicated? It maybe comes as together with the mirror. Okay, let's do this. So I can select the sync here, Shift S. No, actually we do this first. Select the mirror, go into edit mode, face select the front face, Shift S, cursor to selected, tab, right click, and 3D cursor to the origin. No, origin to the 3D cursor. There. Because now we can use this as the mirror axis. So Shift A and cylinder. 64 is fine. Ooh, that's huge. Maybe 3. Yeah, it's still pretty big. So maybe 2. But that's a maybe 3. 6 inches diameter. Height 10. 12. Okay. We can adjust these values because this is just a basic cylinder anyway. Move this over. Yeah, see 2 is actually 3 for the diameter is too much. Radius is too much. So we make this 4 inches by 4 inches. Yeah, better. You see this has a scale factor. So object apply scale. Then let's do the mirror along the y-axis on this mirror. This mirror here, we can call this mirror. Okay, beautiful. Then we want to give this some lights and maybe some chrome material. So where's the mirror? There's the mirror. Because this one is mirrored, I will need to work on this one. And now to add the lights, that's kind of like the fun thing again. We can go into edit mode. I might want to turn off using the scroll wheel, turn this off, or I have this also inside my favorite menu too. Right click, add to favorite. I go to the top view, Z in wireframe, AA, then here I'm going to make this smaller and also have more modeling. This is for rendering fine. Point select, AA, so nothing is selected. And maybe I will decide how would this look if I just select these quarter edges and then say new and mirror front light and assign. You see now they shoot light out. What about this whole back assign? Okay. Now the front area is actually, it's not blinding me. The light only goes to the back, which is kind of silly because we want to shoot out light actually towards us. There it is. Okay. But now there's like a huge glowing orb. Maybe we'll do something in reverse. On top and the bottom, we will have a chrome part, and then the center is the light. And the mirror has the center chrome. So in here, we go look at 2 actually. Click, there we are. Then go to here, AA, select this, GG, move this up and down by -1. AA, this, GG, and then I move this up by 1. Then I go to face select B and select the top, B select the bottom, not the center, click mirror and say assign. And there you can see how the top is actually chrome and the center is the light. Beautiful. Now with this setup, this is actually important now to understand. So when I select this light and say later, turn this off, the front mirror and these lights are turned off because they share one and the same material. If I want these lights to be individually selectable, then you see here there's the 2. That means 2 objects are using this material, the lights and the mirror. I would have to make this a single user. then I could selectively adjust them. Okay. Yeah, actually this starts to look pretty good. I'm still only focusing on lighting, how everything works, not materials. Ideally, you can do both at the same time. I find it simply easier if you focus on one and then do the second one. When the second one, I mean materials. Maybe 4. We really need light. Here, this is an area light, maybe 20. What about 1? So it's just a dim piece. So how would this place actually look like if I now quickly go ahead and say, so this material 0.1, or there's also a little bit of a dim, and then here this is 0. Yeah, look at that. It's kind of cool actually. A little bit mysterious. Before we go to the floor and the countertop, let's do one last quick modeling piece, which is actually quite nice. And what we did with the sink, I want to do here too, and show you something that's actually quite nice to do. We will, in front of these doors, cut actually a groove in and then rotate it. And the groove will get a light material. So I will, how do we do this ideally? So go into edit mode. Because this is centered, select this face, Shift S cursor to selected. Very good. Then in object mode, we will add a cube. And this is maybe 1 inch. Very nice. This cube we will give, for the moment, actually front color. And then S and Y, we make this really white. There. Really white. Okay. Beautiful. And now, this is the x-axis, so Rx, I don't know, a little bit of a movement. There. Okay. Then I need to make sure where is this object. So there we are. Bring this to here, and then this I call actually cabinet door cut. Where do I put this now to? You see here I have sink cuts and all this. So maybe I move this one to here, and then this sink cut, maybe I call Boolean cuts or volume cuts. Give this a name that makes sense, because under here I store all the objects which start somewhere to cut geometry. Okay. So cabinet door cut. Close this, go to here, go to there, modifier Boolean. This is now object, that's correct. And then, oh, there's actually door cut. See, oh, look at that. There is this cut. So I can shift click these two, shift click this one, Control L, and say copy the modifier. So I don't have to do this one by one. You know, all these objects have this line cut in. Pretty cool, huh? So you can actually see there's a shadow line. Because the object is 1 inch, and it was built centered on the front face, it cuts 1/2 inch into the part, exactly the same like I made this groove. Here comes now the fun thing. I will select this one, go into edit mode, select the top face, go to material, plus, and then make a new material, and I call this cabinet door LED. I know this is kind of like, maybe some people would say it's a little bit tacky what I'm doing right now. Who cares? I think it's actually quite fun and enjoyable. Sometimes you do silly things and then you realize, yeah, it's garbage. and you put it away. You never want anybody else to ever really know about that you did something. And sometimes that silly thing is actually a nice loose idea which is pretty genius. So I would never cancel out ideas. Test them. So click assign. Very good. Then we can leave edit mode. Turn this off. Okay, oh, nothing happened. Because this is my door. This door does not yet have actually this LED material. So check this out. Whoops. Sorry. That was wrong. Wah, wah. Plus and LED door. Select this one. New material and LED door. Over here. Plus and LED door. So what's happening is that this object has this color. And then we cut it via this small strip. And then we give this door also this LED material, but we don't assign it actively to something. Because the way how Blender works, it removes geometry via the Boolean command, and where it cuts, it can also add the material to it. So that's how you can do cut sections for engineering views, or here add an LED wherever light where we want. So if we select this and rotate it to somewhere else, there you see it perfectly follows it. It's just, I think this is just really, really great the way how this works. Very good. So now we can select this material because it's shared. We can play with it. Maybe just give a little hint that there is something. Don't make it too obvious. Well, honestly, it's actually also quite funny when we select those and make this bright, select this and make this super bright. It's kind of like, what do we have? We have kind of like a smiley actually there, which I think is quite funny too. I personally actually like this. So a little bit silly, a little bit unusual, and why not? Life is too serious. Okay, we can play with these values more. We'll leave it at this. And then in the next video, the next step in the video, I will talk about the floor. And then here, the cabinets. And then we can actually start working with the lighting and perfect, for example, our lights. Yes, that's a good plan. And the reason why I do this first is actually right now this light is white. It's nice and neutral, but we can't make this light. Light is either bluish or yellowish. So once my materials are set, they're kind of neutral, then we start tinting the lights. And then actually we're also setting up everything more for rendering. Okay, very good. Yes. So let's take a look more at our floor. I want for the rendering only to focus on the floor, so Control B. And then here we draw a line. And then it only renders this bottom part. That speeds up the rendering much, or not much faster. It speeds it up a lot. Very good. Again, I'm working on a pretty weak computer, so I need to be very cautious about my resources. And this is actually a really fast way and cheap. Then here, let's set this to shader editor. Very nice. I want to select my ground. There we are. Zoom in, bring this over, bring this further up. There. Make this bigger so you can see this. And now we actually are going to have some ridiculous fun. So this is the image that shows this part. And I would like to only have particular elements be reflective. So we have specular and roughness. So set roughness to 0 and specular up. There you can see now this is kind of like marble. And I move this over, bring this black to here. So there now you can see the environment. Check out what happens when I put this image into the specularity piece. there you see now how we see this pattern. What this pattern actually means is black is less reflective and white, that's actually the reflective area. We can do a little easy trick. Shift A, add a monkey, S, move it down there. And for example, her, Suzanne, we bring to there, bring her down, R and Z, there you can see her. Okay, very good. Now, Shift A, inside here, color and invert. We flip the color. Okay, we don't really see much changing because there are a lot of gray values. So X, Shift A, we would like to compress the colors. Let's go to converter and color ramp. Bring this in. What does color ramp actually do? Okay, let's take a look. It's kind of like the levels in Photoshop. What I did here now is from black to nearly medium gray, that's all black. And from white to nearly medium white, that's all white. If I get really close, essentially it would be a black and white cartoon image. So let's check out this one more time and look at that. We can do this color and invert one more time. There, you see, now only particular cells are actually reflective. And with this, I can specify the pattern more or less. And one color is reflective and one is not. I think white means it's actually not. White means it's reflective. Okay, so then here, oh yeah, I'm inverting the color. So black, when we set this to white there, it's not. So what's white or what's black is really a matter of, I don't want to say debate, but it can flip because I have an invert command running here. But you see now with black, because I identified this is actually what triggers reflectivity, I can make this less reflective or more like reflective. Okay, very good. Beautiful. Okay, you can go play. So, and then, well, I still would like to see my texture. Okay, there it is. And now actually these dots here I have, they actually will pop up more in the rendering. Okay. That looks, however, like a nice artificially created surface. We need to have that grid. You remember we actually created this grid texture. This one here. By the way, images you can just drag into the viewport here too. There. Or you go Shift A, texture, image, and then you click open and go to where you want to get something from. This should be set to none color, and then Shift A, we need to have a bump. There we are. Height to there, hue to there. Thank you. Oh, look at that. There we have the lines. They're pretty strong, maybe 0.5 for the strength, 0.1 up to us to decide. Yeah, actually, it's not too bad. Oh, interesting. You can see what's going on there. Oh no, there's actually a highlight at the edges, so it's not a highlight kind of like on the ground. So this effect is obviously totally fake. You can see it has its limitations. Yeah, but there we have actually our grout. If this is too wide, we could have made the thickness of the strokes actually a little bit thinner. But this is, I think, pretty good. What happens when we put this into the roughness? We can do this actually too. So maybe now we control more how smooth and how rough something is, and with this we control if something is reflective or it's not reflective, and then it's a uniform roughness I can put over it. So maybe like this. Okay, and when this is maybe too dark, now we don't go back to the software and fix this or the website. Shift A, color, hue and saturation. Remember, we used this actually inside the web interface to make this brighter. Value, we just make it darker. There. The reason why I showed this too is so you can actually see every program does the same. These are common tools. Now we have a kind of like a black floor. I don't know if I like this. Who knows? Let's see. Maybe 0.5. Okay. Yeah, there. Very nice. Okay. We could even, can we give this a tint? Yeah, no, it's a gray color, so we can't really give this a tint, but we could be a little bit crazy and say Shift A, mix RGB, lock this in, go to there and say then you're red and you are yellow. And then we just give this actually tints. So maybe this should be certain sandstone colors. There we can adjust this now and color theme it based on how we would like. I will go with this. Okay. Great. Yeah. What actually looked well, no, that's not correct what I say. So basically what I did here for the floor, I can do the same also with our countertop, but instead of using an image, I will actually generate this structure. So first what we would like to do is, let's maybe make this specular and rough down. I would like to add another camera, or I can just zoom in. That works very good. So Shift A. First, I would like to have Voronoi texture, and I move color to here. Oh, what's happening? Oh, you see, I modified actually the main material bad me. So you go plus new, and this is countertop. There, better. So suck, Shift A. You have to be careful when you select an object, what material it is, and is the material shared. So same thing. Practice makes you good. Or repetition. Inputs, we would like to use the object scale. You see actually we get really interesting facets. So these facets we can scale 500. No, it's maybe too much. What about 250? Then it's a little bit bigger to see. Okay, so hold yourself. We're going to make a countertop with sparkles on top, just so you understand how this works. We would like to turn this into a black and white value. So Shift A, convert RGB to black and white. Very good. Thank you. Then Shift A, color ramp. Whoop. The reason why I do this now is I will do exactly the same again. You see, same process. I give more contrast to certain elements. And then here, this we make black. And this we go into there. I can also move this over. Or not. Hold on. How does this work right now? I might need to have a light actually. Shift A, light point. N. Oh, there. G, move this over. Okay. Now this is actually easier to see what's actually reflective. Yeah. I want these dots to be reflective. Oh yeah, so you see, instead of using an invert, I can also simply flip the position. Can save us a step. Now we have like funny sparkles all over it. Can add a little bit of roughness to it. And so one is really in, one is really out. So the question is which one? So maybe we just add a little bit of reflection. Okay. And then these are kind of like the pieces that really glare a lot. 0.2. Yeah. So from a distance only, you can see that something is actually happening there. White also means in this case it's very reflective. Now, if this is down, it's not like chrome. So we need to lower the strength of reflectivity there. This starts to look less artificial. Okay, very good. Yeah. But you see that the logic here is really the same, like what we had here. The building blocks always the same. It's just variation after variation, repetition after repetition. That makes it actually also very easy to master. It's confusing at the beginning because it's so much, but then at one point it's pretty easy. Okay, very good. Don't forget all the time, your best friend is Control Save. So at one point you might also then want to add actually more information about the materials. For example, we could select this part and this front color we change into cabinet glossy. And yeah, let's make this maybe nice and reflective. I just go with kitschy one. So it's really strong. And then here for these 3 doors, I need to swap out that material. Oops. But just be careful that, like I did, you're not swapping out the wrong material. We don't really see much of a change right now because there's no light here really in the front. So maybe the toilet light we can turn back on. Don't make it so super strong. Maybe 5. Okay, good. Here, you start noticing like I don't have an actual reference of this to study, so I'm kind of like trying to do everything based on how this might look. There, okay. So I make the whole area more reflective with these sparks actually still noticeable being under it. Okay, good. And maybe 0.1, make it not too crazy. Then here we have our sinks. So now this should be Chrome. So call this here Chrome 01. Yeah, that's fine. Nine pieces that use it. Oh yeah, there are 9 pieces inside that set. So Chrome. There we are, high glossy. Very good. And the same now, if we want to be particular, what's up with here? You see that object in SketchUp used the same material, and thus here also uses the same material. So I don't even have to think about it. I know that basically behind me, the door has exactly the same material too. The walls, maybe we want to adjust. So I give this a plus, then Shift H. I go into edit mode, face select, and I just select the inner faces there and here. Go to there, new, assign 0.1, maybe a little bit of reflectivity, I don't know. tab to go back into object mode, Alt H, show everything. And now when I select the wall, I can make this like a high glossy plastic interior, or just give this a very, very low sheen. And some reflectivity on it there. If you look actually at your perpendicular onto an interior wall, dry drywall that's painted, and then look at it tangent to it, you will see there's a little bit of shininess to it, based on I not really properly use a matte color because it rubs off, but like a satin, eggshell. That's kind of like how we set this up. Maybe do we want this to be a little bit darker? Now we make this room actually pretty dark. We can also give this a color. We want to have a colored bathroom. That actually, the reflectivity is way too strong, as we can agree on. Needs to be more diffused. That's maybe too much. We could also go into edit mode one more time, face select, and I just select this face there, and then just for the sake of experimentation, give this a different material. There we can see how everything around actually has a color. Oh, well, it's actually not too bad. Maybe a nice yellow. Okay, very good. So for this material, I call this wall yellow. We can work with RGB, HVS, hex. If you go to websites where you buy the paint, very often they give you an RGB or a hex value, and then we can punch this in, and then we have a color that is kind of close. Our baseboard, definitely we want to be glossy. So there's the baseboard. So nope, new, and we make this wood glossy. There we are. 0.2, 0.1. And actually the door, whatnot, not the wall. B, middle mouse button actually deselects, and then baseboard, Control L, and make a link to the material. So now door actually has that material copied. Cool. You see now with this material added to the walls, this whole room started to look actually quite different. It's interesting, like two eyes again. Maybe we want to put something onto there. The download archive also will have a painting. Or actually, there are two. So it's loading. Wait 1 second. So bathroom, there we are. Here we're painting large and small. To bring this over, we don't go import. We go right into the Blender file. So append, and then you navigate to where you have this file stored. You want to have this inside the project folder on the desktop, for example. Double click, then object and painting and plane. I forgot to give these correct names. Whoops. But this is the small one. When you see this, when you open this file, actually it will say large and small. I will correct this. Append. So where is it? There it is. Okay, then bring this over, bring this in. There we are. Oh, look what's going on there. So Z, top view, R 90 degrees. Is this the front or is this the back? Hold on, I'll move this one out. Z and solid view. This is rotated, so RZ 180. This open area is the back actually. Now to position this again nicely, very easy. And this is one part in SketchUp that works better, hands down. So snap to the edge, G, hold control. Now go to here, G on control. Oh, it snaps that point to there. Oh, that's irritating. Okay, what's a different way how we can do this? 3D cursor, hold control, move, hold control. There it snaps actually to that edge. Very good. Then select the painting, Shift S, selection to the cursor. There we are. Then go back to move. Phase, go to there. And then hold control. We snap it onto that face and we can just slide it on. And we can even animate it if we want to. Since we want to be serious, we just don't animate, just keep it there. Beautiful, look at that. The original piece actually has a golden frame around it. So this object comes with a white frame. Okay, so let's call this gold. Gold, not glood. I also corrected my toilet spelling error. And then specular down, metallic up, base color. That's maybe a little bit of too much gold on gold. Do we maybe want to select a different color for the walls? Let's see. How does this work with a blue? Oh, could be interesting. Yeah. I'm just goofing around right now just to show you how we can actually play with this. Like orange, more red. Yeah, like a really strong expression. Okay, very good. So that doesn't look too bad, no? So we're actually getting close now to the last part. Lights. How do we fix this? So I will go back to here, this object, or I have all my lights inside this folders. So I can move this up. Maybe because I have to... I wanted to move this one up so I can always quickly scroll down, but I can also in this case simply make use of this layout, because here's the emission. Instead of scrolling up and down, I just do this here. So here's the piece, and yeah, I can even close this. I just click ceiling light. There we are, and we set this to 1. Let's give this more light. Okay, hue down here, maybe 4, a little bit stronger. Okay, good. Yeah. Also, this piece here, this one, maybe 2, give this more contrast. We didn't really set the color correction. So let's go to here, color management. And then let's see. Oh, this is way too strong. And this is better. And now we can see actually how dark this space got. Maybe Z and wireframe, this light needs to be stronger. Okay, yeah, this is better now. Okay, goody. How do we now actually give lights a color? I select this object here. I will then in here make sure I have the correct material selected. So slot 1, see, they're actually the slots, so I can select what material I want, and then here I can decide what material is being used inside that slot. Slot is basically this here. Okay, and I can give this a color if I want to. Whoops, this is actually the base material. I meant the emission color. That's all possible. If I want to be and do crazy LED things. If I want to be more realistic, then Shift A, I go to converter and black body. Connect this. And then I type in 4,500. I made the same mistake again. I'm getting tired. Sorry. Emission there. Select actually the ceiling, ceiling light, that is correct. There's my emission, Shift A, converter, black body 4,500. Sock. Maybe make this really strong. Now you can see when we set this to 1,500, it is super, super warm, like an incandescent. Another word that took me a really long time to learn. 5,500 is kind of like sun outside. 6,500 is kind of like a TV, kind of like bluish. Then it goes back to lights do not have actually, they're not white. They have a color. When I select a lamp, this is the only thing I can't actually have here something to go in for black body, but I have this here. This kind of like an unfortunate that I don't see I have this here, but now I have actually, there it is, the emission material for this light, Shift A, converter, black body, there, and then 6,500 to make it kind of like cold, or 5,000 if we want to make this warmer. But we make this warmer, we can, the materials or the colors will look colder. Just keep that in mind. And when we use, so I go back to 5,000. So with 5,000 lower, it will be warmer, and 5,000 high, it will be colder. And then everything else, like the wall color, the white, we don't get pure white because now our lights have a color. Now that's normal, but that's also how it is. Very often I see renderings with pure white and it's just, that looks sterile. That can actually also be good, more neutral if you want to show it this way. But if you want to be more realistic, then we need to give these things actually a little bit of a color. So there's this, very good. By the way, I can Control C and Control V, paste this simply in there, flop. There you see that. Okay, pretty cool. So now I can, as you can imagine now, per object, I can give each object actually a different light material. I can adjust the strength, but what actually, if I want to be able to set the light color for all lights at the same time, but the light strength I want to be able to do differently, which is more what we want. Now we don't want to have different light colors or temperatures. That would be crazy. So this black body element, I would like to share among all materials, and that's easy. Right click. Or nodes. Where is this group? Make a group. Zuck. Okay. Then there's a black body temperature. There. Okay. Very good. Tab. Then get out. Oh, actually, hold on 1 second. Tab. I can do it this way. Good. We will see. Might have to adjust some one thing. So this is now a group. Press N. Then I can go to here and give this, call this black body or light. Go to here, Shift A, insert, here's my black body, and connect this. And then this I just delete. Let's make this 1000 and see. It does only adjust that. Okay, so tab, take this out. So 1000. Yeah, that's okay. That's what I thought. Whatever this here is kind of not what I want. Yeah, you see now. Beautiful. So all I have to do now is I select every material, just delete this, Shift A, black body, connect this. The light color is already set, so I don't even have to do this again, and just connect this. Here too. And I think that pretty much, wait, this actually has multiple lights backlit. This has also an emission. Slot here, okay. Yeah, beautiful. So check this out. Oops. Do not check this out. It's kind of a little bit confusing, but here, 4,500 and everything is just tinted. Now you get this idea. 6,500, make it colder. There, 6,000, kind of white. 5,000, warmer. Perfect. Okay, yeah, perfect. So we're reaching actually the end. Now we can do the renderings and then show you what happens when we bring this back actually into SketchUp. So the end is near, and something was bothering me here, and I noticed this is a little bit too empty. So let's put something quickly to there. And I will do that at my speed. So I still have my 3D cursor right at that position. Shift A, plane, tab, scale this down, tab, move the object over. Okay, very good. Tab E. Yeah, this looks good. I, E, yeah, Control R down here as, okay, interesting. Maybe a little bit too wide. S, Shift Z, we scale this along X and Y. Maybe in edit mode, these two faces I move down. Let's turn this off. Okay, yeah. Very good. Shift D and then I scale. Shift D and I scale. And then sometimes people ask me, why do we have all these different things here? 3D cursor. Look, when I go to individual origins right now, I can press R with all these objects selected and they rotate at their own individual position. That just is actually really useful. I can even scale them right where they are. Or S and Z. Yeah, pretty cool actually. You see how quickly you can develop some whatever random props. Don't overthink that stuff. It's just filler material, empty calories, but they can still taste pretty sweet. Okay, yeah. Now maybe I might actually throw this out. Maybe this one is too big. Yeah, agreed. So bye-bye. Then you get another sibling. We make this smaller. Yeah, this is better. Can be silly. We can even many more and many more and many more. Okay, I'm getting silly right now. Where do you see actually how fast you can develop something like this? Get them a little bit more nice and cozy together. There we are. Doot, doot, doot. Bring to here. Bravissimo. Yeah, this is maybe better. Okay, so Shift S, Control S to save. How do we now bring the stuff maybe over, or should we do the rendering first? Maybe we do the rendering first and then we bring the stuff over. That makes more sense. So for the rendering, now I can see basically what's visible and what's not. So I can move this camera maybe a little bit further back if I want to. Okay, good. So now I start seeing a little bit more of what's going on down there, but this reflection, I don't know if this is beneficial or if this is actually rather distractive. I might have to adjust this there. So let's see at what point does it start to show and not there. Okay. Maybe the ground floor is too smooth. 0.4, 0.3. Yeah. So now we see something is happening and it doesn't jump like artificial rendering style into our eyes. Okay, very good. Nice. Top and bottom, can we change this? At the moment, this is a square. So we could crop it this way. As you see, 1000. What about we make, can also change it this way. You see, it actually changes it in proportionally. X and Y. So I make this less white. So I crop this. There we are. I could maybe move this down even more. Or move this more up based on what I want to see. So there it cuts actually through the wall. So that's not really anything that's beneficial to me. There. Very good. So my problem is now I need to figure out where does the cut section stop. And then so I still kind of like can see these edges nicely. And I move the camera slightly forward till there. Now this piece is, you see this dot is right after there. So I can actually bring it to here. Good. Now you see my rendering goes really now edge to edge to edge. So this is actually now perfectly framed. For final rendering now, there's a video about compositing for how to actually scale something up. That is part of the dining living room lecture I gave. We need to figure out how many pixels do we need for the rendering. So maybe we just keep this at what we have here, just for demonstration purpose. And now when we go to viewport, we set this up to be really fast now. But if we set this also for final rendering, save and do render. There we can see, it might really maybe be, well, actually it's not too much detail maybe that gets lost. But it's kind of mushy, and you can see here there's some cloud stuff, and that's because we don't have really a lot of, how could I say that? Samples going on. This is also much brighter, this rendering. This here is very dark. So, oh, the toilet here was turned off. That's why. Yeah, okay. So let's go back to here, slot 2, and then we set this to 100. So we give this already 10 times more samples. Now this already takes a little bit longer, but it's still pretty fairly decent fast. While this renders, by the way, we can give the room actually a bevel command too. Very tiny because we don't have these razor sharp edges. They're slightly rounded. Yeah, there we are. Now we can change the color for the chrome. That kind of feels a little bit too dark. We can give this a white porcelain. Here we see nothing because it's perfectly modeled. It does not have, however, the gaps in it, the natural gaps. So again, this is a good, in my opinion, good case to show why blocking stuff out in SketchUp is good. And then in Blender, we can refine and finish it. And if needed, send it back. So this whole piece, I would like to be beveled there. 4 millimeters. Yeah. 1, okay. And I do this above the Boolean. So that basically means I have this piece and I round it and then I make a hard cut through it. This object should be right-click, shade flat. Same here. Can actually click these two, shift-click the last one, Control-L, copy modifiers, and then U and U, Alt, right-click. No, it does not work. Oh, right-click, shade flat. Oh, it did it on both. Perfect. Okay, let's see. Oh, look at that. You see, now we start seeing there are actually lines. And this is 10 samples. You can see how these lines are there, but they're kind of wavery. Also here, let's give this maybe a little bit of a bevel. 4 millimeters. Yeah, okay. Very good. And I want this only to be done to these two edges. So I go into edit mode. Edge select these correct two edges, N, transform, and then just give this a bevel weight, and then here, weight. Then I can leave this N 1 centimeter. I'm just only doing this 1 centimeter on purpose to see what happens. And there you can see how this is rounded. There you see, now you start seeing a nice bright light. So 5 millimeters. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now, so that adds actually a little bit of realism to it. So view render, very good. In this slots 3, we would like to render another piece. And you see, because we give this more samples, it has more time to also calculate these fine details, which is, this is all still way too tight. But instead of modeling the doors a little bit smaller, where they should be, I artificially round the edges when the edges are rounded anyway. But this way, I'm kind of like creating this visual cue that there is something happening. Yeah, that doesn't look actually too bad. Let's compare this to here. See, just this bevel command already did a lot. Even here, you see there's a small highlight. It's just these tiny details. Yeah, then we can work on the ceiling. We can give this a material if we want to. This is kind of like a flat. But I feel like we exhausted everything what this video could be about. Very good. So this rendering is actually quite nice. And now, how do we get everything back? Oh, and this is not pretty easy. So UI height, I select you. The cabinets I leave out, I could do. For this exercise, I just leave it out. So these objects are selected, file, export, then Collada, desktop. There we are, very good. So we set selection only, geometry, you, and away you are. Then quickly need to start SketchUp. Whoop. Oh, very good. Let's try this again, SketchUp. And there's my raw edited version. There we are. So here, ceiling, height. Okay. Then file. Sorry, my voice is breaking up. Import. Then we navigate to where is our stuff. There it is. Configure. Yup. This is all good. Import. Doesn't take too long. And there we are. I move this one to here. And then I say this point move to there. Thank you. And then countertop I can hide. This is all one big group. So what I can do now is explode, then triple click. See, it put these pieces together. That's an annoying thing with SketchUp. Here we make this a group, and here we make this a group. There we can set this so we get these edges actually away. There we are. So what do we do here in this case? Well, just delete this part. There. Okay, they're separate. Very nice. We can also, instead of exporting all at once, just select this one, export it. There. Okay, yep. Bring this back in. Wait. Didn't I? Or maybe I exported it to somewhere else. Yes, I did. This is actually quite hilarious what I'm doing now. Oh, that's what happens when you work fast. Sorry. Okay, now I'm getting angry. One last time, please. There. Oh, import. Went to the wrong one. Okay, finally. There we are. It wasn't that difficult. Come on. Zack. There we are. Yeah, beautiful. Now, so when we go to this object, go to here, and let's go to materials. Chrome, now porcelain, auto, there are some these other materials, auto 2. So these are actually the materials coming over from here. And this, for example, is actually the countertop. Okay. But most times I don't, how could I say that? I set up the material in SketchUp because I can color plan everything nicely, and then I bring this over in terms of for materials. You notice that actually this brought only over a black material, not this stone granite texture we tried to simulate, which is logical because that actually was procedural. That doesn't transfer. But in case this would be an image, kind of like with the floor, you saw the floor actually from SketchUp went to Blender, and from Blender then it will go back into SketchUp too. But when I design the space in SketchUp, and I, let's say with this sink, actually really don't like the workflow I have here, I can do this in Blender, or actually literally any other program, and then bring this back to here, and then, for example, could add materials to it. And then when I'm done for the rendering, then I bring this over to my render environment. Okay, yeah, so I think this is actually pretty nice what we have. The rendering looks actually pretty good. Maybe some pieces left to change. The chrome in there is very strong. We could adjust this a little bit. We could go to the camera, and I would like to see my rendering image editor and view. Can't I see the rendering here? I thought you can. Oh, render result. Yeah, there it is. So bring this one down there, and I can play with this a little bit more. Low contrast, high contrast. That's way too burning. That's okay. Maybe brighten this up a little bit. Play with these values, kind of like developing it, like I would do with a film. There. 0. Yeah. Okay. And then this image we have, or the renderings you will have, we can each save as. Very good. Perfect. That's it.